At Christmas, my mother handed out 4 Europe tickets, not 5. I asked, "Where's mine?" She smiled. Can you imagine being told by your own mother, on Christmas morning, that you're not fun enough to join a family trip to Europe? That's what happened to me. So, I took their words, packed my bags, and served them a slice of reality they definitely weren't ready for. And let me tell you, it tasted sweet. Alright, grab something to drink, because this is going to be a story. My name is Protagonist's name, if the user wants to add one, otherwise just say, I'm 29, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the black sheep of my family. Not because I was a rebel or caused trouble. Actually, it was the exact opposite. I was always the responsible one. The one who showed up, who handled everything. The one who gave, but got nothing in return. Then, there's Madison, my 26-year-old younger sister, the golden child. She floated through life without a single consequence, never touching the ground. And Tyler, my 24-year-old younger brother, the baby of the family. He could practically burn the house down, and my parents would blame the matches for being overly combustible. Let me paint you a picture of my childhood, because it explains everything. When I was 17, I spent every single summer bussing tables and washing dishes, saving up for my first car. 3 years of grinding, and I finally scraped together $3,600. My parents contributed exactly 0. Meanwhile, Madison, at 17, got a brand new Honda Accord. She needs reliable transportation for cheerleading practice, they said. A year later, Tyler got a Jeep Grand Cherokee for his 17th birthday. Boys need something rugged, they explained. I drove a beat-up 2001 Toyota Camry with 165,000 miles that I bought myself. The favoritism wasn't subtle. It was practically a grand performance. Report cards came out. My straight A's? Oh, great job, honey. Madison's C average? She's doing her best, and that's all that matters, they'd gush. It was infuriating. I remember in 9th grade, I won the science fair. My parents didn't show up for the awards ceremony. That same year, Madison got 3rd place in some local beauty pageant, and they threw her a massive party, inviting the entire extended family. I sat alone in that gymnasium, clutching my trophy, watching other kids get hugged by their proud parents. My teacher had to drive me home, alone. When I got into a good university with a partial scholarship, my parents told me they couldn't afford the rest. They made me feel terrible for even asking, like I was selfish for wanting an education. 3 years later, Madison decided she wanted to go to an expensive private school with no scholarship money, and suddenly they found a way. Refinanced the house, took out loans, whatever it took. When I asked why they couldn't have done the same for me, my mom just said, "That's different. Madison has always wanted this." As if my dreams, my education, meant nothing. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through college, graduating with honors in computer science. Madison changed majors 4 times, took 7 years to get a communications degree she's never used. Tyler dropped out after 3 years to find himself, and has been on my parents' couch ever since. And guess who the family is still disappointed with? Me. The one who actually has his life together. After college, I landed a great job as a software developer in Austin, Texas. Good pay, excellent benefits, and most importantly, distance from my family in Ohio. I thought maybe space will help. Maybe they'll finally see me as my own person, not just the reliable one they could always dismiss. Spoiler alert, it didn't help. Every holiday was a grueling act. I'd fly back to Ohio, spend hundreds on thoughtful gifts for everyone, only to receive the most token gestures in return. Last Christmas, I got Madison a fancy handbag she'd been wanting for months. $450. She gave me a $25 gas station gift card. Tyler? He didn't even try. Forgot, bro. My bad. And everyone laughed like it was adorable. My mom always had an excuse. Madison's been so stressed about her career. What career? She works part-time at a boutique and lives rent-free in my parents' basement. Tyler's going through a hard patch. A hard patch? He's been on a hard patch for 6 years. When does the patch become the whole damn quilt? What really bothered me is that I never stopped trying. I kept showing up, making an effort, always thinking, maybe this time will be different. Every Christmas, I'd think, this is the year they finally see me. And every holiday, I'd leave feeling like a stranger in my own home. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for last Christmas. It was December 22nd. I'd just arrived in Ohio after a hellish, delayed flight that turned a 4-hour trip into an 8-hour nightmare. I was exhausted, irritable, and honestly I wondered why I even bothered. But it was Christmas, you know. Family is family. Or so I kept telling myself. I got to my parents' house around 7:45 p.m. Everyone was already there. Mom, Dad, Madison, and her month-long boyfriend, Logan. Tyler was reclined on the couch, playing video games, as if it were his job. Which, technically it was. My mom greeted me with one of her half hugs, the kind where she's looking over your shoulder to see if you brought anything. Oh, you made it. We already ate, but there are leftovers in the fridge. No, how was your flight? No, good to see you. Just an acknowledgement of my existence and information about food scraps. I was used to it. Christmas Eve was more of the same. Madison monopolized every conversation, talking about her influencer journey on social media where she had like 2,300 followers, most of them probably bots. Tyler whined about how hard his life was, contributing absolutely nothing to society. My dad asked me twice if I could look at his computer because it was running slowly. I agreed because that's apparently my only utility in this family, the human ATM machine. Then came Christmas morning. We gathered in the living room for gifts like always. The tree was beautifully decorated. My mom always went all out for Christmas decor. Presents were stacked underneath, and everyone was in that festive Christmas morning mood. Everyone but me. I had a strange feeling in my gut, like something was off. My mother stood up, a bright smile plastered on her face. Okay, everyone, before we open the regular presents, your father and I have a very special announcement. She reached behind the tree and pulled out 4 envelopes. 4, not 5. 4. This year, we decided to do something really memorable for our family. We're taking everyone on a trip to Europe in late April. 15 days, 5 countries. France, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, and 1 more. Madison shrieked like she'd won the lottery. Tyler actually put down his phone, which was basically a standing ovation for him. Logan, or whatever his name was, looked suitably impressed, probably calculating how much free content this would be for Madison's awful Instagram. I stood there, waiting for my envelope. My mother handed one to Madison. Here's your ticket, sweetie. Then one for Tyler. And yours, baby. Then one for my father. And one for you, honey. She sat back down. I scanned the room, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice the obvious. Nobody did. Mom, I finally asked, my voice surprisingly steady. Where's my ticket? She gave me this look. This look I will never forget. It was a mix of mild displeasure and absolute satisfaction, like she'd been waiting for me to ask. Oh, well. She glanced at my father, who had suddenly become fascinated with the pattern on the carpet. We only had enough money for 5 tickets, and we just assumed you couldn't get the time off work anyway. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. You didn't even ask me. Madison jumped in, filing her nails as if we were discussing the weather. It's kind of a vibe trip, you know? Like, we want to do fun stuff. Nightlife, late nights, spontaneous adventures. You're not really that guy. Tyler snorted. Yeah, bro. You'd probably just want to visit museums and stuff. Boring. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to defend me, to say anything. Instead, she just shrugged. They have a point, honey. You wouldn't really fit in. You're so serious all the time. We want this to be a joyful, relaxing trip. And honestly, you'd probably just dampen the vibe. You wouldn't fit the vibe. Let me tell you something about that phrase. It sounds almost harmless, right? Like a casual observation. But my mother, on Christmas morning, in front of my entire family, had just declared to me, "You're not fun enough to be included. You don't belong with us. We'd rather spend 15 days in Europe without you than have to deal with your presence." That's what "you wouldn't fit the vibe" truly meant. I sat there in silence for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 40 seconds. Everyone had already moved on. Madison was gushing about what she'd pack. Tyler was looking up the best parties in Ibiza, even though it wasn't on their itinerary. My father was pointedly avoiding eye contact. I stood up. "Where are you going?" my mother asked, barely looking up from watching Madison's reaction. "I need some air." I walked out into the backyard, standing there in the biting Ohio winter, staring at nothing. 29 years of being the good son, the responsible one, the one who never caused trouble, who always showed up, who tried to make things work. And this is what I got. Excluded from a family trip because I didn't fit in. Something fundamental changed in me that day. I'd spent my entire life trying to carve out a place in my own family. And in that moment, I finally understood the truth. I was never going to get it. Not because of anything I did or didn't do, but because they had already decided who I was to them. The afterthought, the obligation, the one they tolerated rather than enjoyed. Fine. If that's how they wanted to play it, game on. I went back inside and went through the motions for the rest of Christmas. Smiled, opened presents, a pair of socks, and a generic "World's Okayest Son" mug from a gas station. I pretended everything was fine, but inside I was already planning. Here's the thing about being the responsible one, the one everyone underestimates. You develop certain skills. You learn to plan, to strategize, to think 3 steps ahead. While my siblings were relying on handouts and charm, I was building something. A career, savings, a life free of external validation. And now, I was going to use every bit of it. I flew back to Austin on December 27th. By December 29th, I'd already started my research. They were going to Europe in late April. Perfect. That gave me plenty of time. First, I checked my PTO balance. I had almost 5 weeks saved up because, unlike some people, I actually showed up for work. I requested 15 days off in mid-April, precisely the same time frame as their trip. Then, I started planning my own vacation. But here's where it gets good. I wasn't going to Europe. Europe was basic. Everyone goes to Europe. No, I was going to do something better. Something that would make their 5-country tour look like a trip to the local mall. After weeks of intense research, I decided on Japan and the Philippines. 15 days of truly epic adventure. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, then a flight to Palawan, with some of the most stunning beaches in the world. I'm talking world-class temples, incredible food, breathtaking natural landscapes, and experiences they could only dream of. The best part? I could afford it. Because while my siblings were mooching off my parents and blowing money on VIP tables and designer clothes, I was saving and investing. My trip cost roughly the same as theirs, around $8,500 total, but I paid for it myself. No handouts necessary. I booked everything in January. Flights, hotels, tours, the works. I even splurged on a few premium experiences. A traditional ryokan stay in Kyoto, a private island-hopping tour in Palawan, and front-row seats at a sumo event in Tokyo. This wasn't just a trip. This was going to be an adventure. Then I waited. The months leading up to late April were interesting. My mother would occasionally text the family group chat with updates on our Europe trip, restaurant reservations in Paris, hotel confirmations in Rome. I never responded to those texts. I'd reply to other things just to prove I was still alive, but anything about Europe got absolute radio silence from me. Madison was the first to notice. "You're acting weird about the trip," she messaged me privately in early March. "Are you mad or something?" "Nope," I replied. "Just busy with work." "Have fun." "Okay, well, try not to be jealous when we post pics, LOL. I just liked the message and moved on. In early March, my mother actually called me. This was the first time she'd called in months. She usually only texted. "Hello, honey. I just wanted to check in. You've been really quiet lately." "Just been busy, Mom. Work stuff, you know." Right. I hope you're not still upset about the Europe thing. It wasn't personal. We just thought. Mom, I'm not upset. Really? I hope you all have a wonderful trip. She sounded suspicious, but she let it go. Okay, fair enough. We leave on April 14th. I'll send pics. Sounds great. What she didn't know was that I was leaving on April 13th, the day before their trip to Paris. I was boarding a plane bound for Tokyo. I told no one. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even my friends from Ohio. As far as everyone knew, I was just working as usual, being the boring, old, responsible me. I arrived in Tokyo on April 14th, the exact same day my family landed in Paris. The irony was not lost on me. While they were probably exhausted from their flight and checking into their hotel, I was standing in the middle of Shibuya Crossing, watching thousands of people pass by in perfect, organized chaos. And I started taking pictures. Not much at first. Just a few photos of the crossing, a temple I visited, some incredible food I ate. I uploaded them to Instagram and Facebook with short descriptions. Tokyo, day 1. Best ramen of my life. This city is unreal. I should mention, I had about 480 Instagram followers. I never posted much, maybe a few times a year. So when I suddenly started posting daily updates from Japan, people noticed. The first comment from family came on day 2. I posted a photo of myself at Sensoji Temple in Asakusa, one of Tokyo's most beautiful temples. The morning light was perfect, and I'd asked a friendly tourist to take the shot. "Madison, wait, where are you?" I didn't reply. My mother texted the family group chat. "Is that Japan? When did you go to Japan?" Still, no response from me. Let them wonder. Day 3. I posted a photo from the sumo tournament. Front row seats, massive wrestlers battling in the ring, the whole amazing atmosphere captured in one image. The caption was simple. Bucket list item, checked. Tyler med me. "What's going on, bro? Are you actually in Japan right now?" I left him on read. Day 4 was spent at a traditional ryokan in Kyoto. I posted a photo of the classic room with sliding paper doors, the view of the private garden, the aesthetic perfection of it all. Then another photo of the kaiseki dinner, 12 courses of the most exquisite, artistic food I'd ever seen. My phone was exploding at this point. My family group chat was a constant stream of messages that I refused to read. I had 19 missed calls from various family members, but I was too busy enjoying my life to care. See, what they didn't realize was, while they were fighting crowds in Paris, dealing with tourist traps in Rome, and posting the same generic photos in front of the Eiffel Tower, I was having truly unique experiences. I was the only American at that sumo match. The ryokan I stayed in had only 8 rooms and required reservations 6 months in advance. I was eating at places they'd never heard of, seeing sights most tourists never see, and capturing every bit of it. Days 6 through 8 were spent in Osaka, eating incredible street food, taking a day trip to Nara to see the deer, and enjoying an amazing nightlife scene that didn't require any substances. Then I flew to the Philippines. Palawan was where things really got heated. I'm talking crystal clear water, limestone cliffs, private beaches, the full paradise package. I booked a 4-day island hopping cruise that took us to lagoons and coves that looked photoshopped, but they were real. And I was there. The first day, we kayaked through the secret lagoon. A tiny opening in a limestone wall led to a hidden pool of blue water, completely surrounded by cliffs. I sat in my kayak in the middle of that lagoon, absolutely alone, except for a few fish swimming beneath me. I actually started laughing, not because anything was funny, but because I felt truly happy and free. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt that strongly around my family. The second day was even better. We visited 8 different islands, snorkeled in water so clear you could see 60 feet down, and ate fresh fish on a sandbar that only appears at low tide. The boat captain told me stories about growing up in Palawan, how the islands have changed, what he wants for his children's future. A genuine, personal connection with someone I'd just met, more meaningful than any conversation I'd ever had with my siblings. I posted a photo of the big lagoon in El Nido, this breathtaking emerald green water encircled by towering cliffs. Caption, "Found paradise." That's when my mother finally broke. She called me a dozen times in a row. I let it go to voicemail every time. Then she sent a text that was basically a novel. "I don't understand what's going on. You said you were fine with the Europe trip. Why are you in Asia now? Why didn't you tell anyone? We are your family, and we had no idea you were even traveling. This feels incredibly passive-aggressive and hurtful. I suppose we should talk when you get back." I read it. I even laughed a little. Then I went back to enjoying my kayak ride through a hidden lagoon. The trip lasted another 6 days. More incredible beaches, amazing food, and unforgettable experiences. I posted almost daily, and every single post got a flurry of comments from family members, ranging from confused to angry to guilt-trippy. I replied to precisely none of them. I returned to Austin on April 27th. My family had been home from Europe for about a week by that point. The group chat had been a constant stream of messages that I had mostly ignored, but I noticed a pattern. Initial enthusiasm for their trip, then increasing focus on my trip, and finally, obsession with why I hadn't told them. Madison's Europe posts got about 60 to 110 likes each. Standard tourist fare. The usual Eiffel Tower Colosseum shots. My posts about Japan and the Philippines? They consistently got between 200 and 300 likes, plus dozens of comments asking for my itinerary. The algorithm gods were clearly on my side. The confrontation happened 3 days after I returned. My mother called, and this time I answered. "Hi, Mom." "Don't you hi, Mommy. What was all that about?" "What is it all about?" "You know exactly what it is. Traveling to Japan and the Philippines without telling anyone. Posting all those pictures while we were in Europe. It felt like you were trying to outdo us or something." I let the silence linger for a moment. "Mom, I just went on a vacation. I didn't realize I needed to clear my travel plans with you. That's not the point. And you know it. Why didn't you invite us? Why didn't you tell us you were leaving?" And there it was. The opportunity I'd been waiting for. "Why should I invite you?" I asked, keeping my voice perfectly calm. "Because we're family." Interesting. I seem to recall being told that I wouldn't fit in on a family trip. I believe the exact words were, I'd bring the mood down. So, I decided to plan something for the people who did want me there, which, in this case, was just me. I continued, as silence hung on the other end. "But to answer your question directly, Mom, why didn't I invite you? Because you wouldn't fit the vibe." The silence on the other end was deafening. "According to what you told me at Christmas, the vibe of my trip was about appreciating culture, trying new things, actually enjoying travel rather than just collecting photo ops. That's not really your thing, is it?" "That is not fair," she wailed. "That situation was different." "How was it different? You planned a family trip and specifically excluded me because you thought I wasn't entertaining enough. I planned a trip and didn't invite you because, well, same reason, I suppose. Doesn't feel good, does it?" "You're being cruel." "No, Mom. I'm being honest. For the first time in maybe my entire life, I'm being completely open with you. You made it abundantly clear at Christmas where I stand in this family. I'm the afterthought, the one you tolerate, the one who doesn't belong. So I stopped trying to fit." I heard her cry, which, honestly, didn't move me as much as it would have a year ago. "I didn't mean it that way. We just thought you're always so serious and we wanted a fun trip and I'm sure Europe was great fun. I'm happy you enjoyed it. My trip was also enjoyable, albeit in a different, apparently unappreciative manner. So everyone is happy. I'm not happy. I'm hurt. Welcome to my world." The conversation did not end well. She hung up on me after accusing me of trying to destroy her family. I texted the group chat. "I'm available if anyone wants to have an actual conversation about this." Otherwise, I'll be living my life. The outcome was predictable, but still kind of amazing to watch. Madison was furious. She shared a lengthy Instagram story, which I only saw because a friend screenshotted it, about toxic family members and people who can't be happy for others. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. She couldn't be happy for me going on such an amazing trip, but I was the toxic one? Tyler messaged me once. That was cold, brother. I replied, it was also disappointing to be excluded from a family trip on Christmas morning. I guess we're even. He didn't text back. My father called several days later. He was the most reasonable of the group, which isn't saying much. Look, son, I understand you were hurt about the Europe situation, but what you did felt retaliatory. It wasn't retaliatory, Dad. It was just me living my life. The fact that you all misinterpreted it as an attack says something about you, not me. You knew exactly what you were doing when you posted all those pictures while we were traveling. I was chronicling my vacation in the same way that Madison does with her meals and Tyler with his video games. Why is it different when I do it? He had no good explanation for that. Let me ask you something, Dad. What if the circumstances had been reversed? What if I had arranged a trip and purposely excluded everyone else because they wouldn't fit in? Silence. You know the answer. There would have been an intervention. Mom would have sobbed about me ripping the family apart. Madison would have posted about it to garner sympathy. You would have lectured me on the importance of family values and the need for unity. Tyler would have cracked jokes at my expense. But when it happened to me, everyone just moved on to opening presents. Nobody acknowledged how messed up things were. Madison and Tyler piled on. And you sat there, staring at the carpet as if it were the most interesting thing you'd ever seen. I know, he murmured, his voice thick with shame. I should have said something. Yes, you should have. But you didn't. You didn't say anything when I was paying rent at 19 and Madison was living for free. You didn't say anything when I worked through high school and Tyler played video games. Just like you never said anything when your other children had more than I did. You're right, he said softly. It wasn't handled properly. No, it was not. And I spent many years letting things slide, thinking that one day I'd be accepted as a genuine part of this family. But Christmas made it abundantly clear that wasn't going to happen. So I'm done trying. That conversation marked the beginning of a significant shift in my connection with my family, or rather, the lack thereof. I stopped initiating communication. No more texts, no more calls, no more being the one who kept the family connected. And the silence was deafening. Weeks passed without anyone contacting me unless they had a specific request. Between early March and August, my mother contacted me exactly 5 times. 3 were technical support requests. Madison reached out twice. Both times she asked me to validate whatever turmoil she was going through. Tyler didn't contact me at all. Mother's Day happened in May. For the first time ever, I didn't send a gift. I just texted Happy Mother's Day and left it at that. My mother called, upset. I just didn't feel like it suited the vibe, I explained. Then I feigned that my doorbell was ringing and hung up. Same thing for Father's Day. Birthday cards were forgotten. Holiday trips home became prohibitively expensive or had horrible timing with work. Every reason they'd ever used against me, I recycled right back at them. The aftermath from what I began calling the Japan incident continued to affect my family in unforeseen ways. Madison's boyfriend dumped her roughly 3 months after their Europe trip. He'd apparently been paying attention to how she handled me, and he wasn't pleased. When she told him about the plane tickets, she undoubtedly expected him to support her, but he supposedly remarked, "That's actually really messed up," and began to back away. She blamed me for the breakup, even though I had never spoken a word to him. First domino. Second domino. My parents finally kicked Tyler off the couch. Perhaps watching me actually do something with my life made them realize their baby son wouldn't miraculously become productive. He found a job at a cell phone store and relocated to a cheap apartment with a roommate. He complained about it constantly in the family group chat. I never replied. Third, Anna Lane, my mother's sister, called me unexpectedly in August. We'd never been close, but she'd seen my travel photos and had heard about what happened at Christmas from other family members. I just wanted you to know that I think what your mother did was wrong, she said. I told her that. She did not take it well, but someone had to say it. I later learned that my mother and Aunt Elaine had a major disagreement over this. Apparently, Elaine brought it up during a family cookout, and my mother made a scene defending herself. Half the extended family now knows the story about the Europe tickets. My mother's reputation as the world's greatest mother suffered a significant blow. Around this time, I started dating Emily, whom I met at a work conference. I told her about the family issues early on. The first time she met my folks was supposed to be at Thanksgiving. My mother had been texting about Thanksgiving for weeks. We would love to meet Emily. It would mean a lot to have everyone together. Let us start fresh as a family. Then she sent the menu she had planned, all the traditional turkey and stuffing ingredients. At the bottom, she wrote, "And I'm making that green bean casserole Madison loves." I stared at that text for a long time. In 29 years, my mother had never once asked me what my favorite dish was. Never cooked anything special for me, but she made it clear she was making Madison's favorite. I replied back, "Actually, Emily's family invited us to Colorado for Thanksgiving. We're going to do that instead." The reaction was swift. "What? You're choosing her family over yours?" Her family didn't reject me from a trip because I didn't fit in. So yes, I'm choosing them. She didn't reply for 4 days. When she eventually did, she left a lengthy message about how I was pulling the family apart, keeping grudges, and that Christmas had passed months ago. "You should move on." I replied, "I have moved on. That's the problem, isn't it?" Thanksgiving in Colorado was incredible. Emily's family embraced me as if I had always been there. Her mother asked about my career and genuinely listened. Her father and I spent the afternoon renovating the back porch, talking about nothing in particular. Her brothers incorporated me into their fantasy football trash talk as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The cabin was a stunning A-frame in the mountains near Denver. There were perhaps 16 people there. Parents, siblings, cousins, and an uncle who shared the same fishing story 3 times. Normal family stuff, the kind of beautiful chaos I'd seen in movies but never experienced firsthand. At dinner, her mother made a point of asking everyone what they were grateful for. When it got to me, I expressed gratitude for being where I felt wanted. Emily clasped my hand beneath the table. Her mother shed a few tears. Her father nodded as if he understood exactly what I meant. After supper, her brothers dragged me into a heated board game tournament that lasted until 1:45 a.m. Nobody asked me to fix their computer. Nobody made me feel as if I were taking up space. Her grandmother kept sneaking me extra pie, "Because you're so skinny, honey." I realized I had spent 29 years attempting to achieve something that this family had given me in 29 minutes. December arrived, and my mother launched the Christmas offensive. Texts, phone calls, even a handwritten letter, something she had never done before. The letter discussed how family is everything, and how she could not fathom Christmas without all of her children around. I responded with a single sentence. "Last year, when you handed out those travel tickets, you had no trouble imagining Christmas without me." She called, weeping. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was 10 minutes long, filled with tears and justifications. "We never intended to hurt you. You're overreacting. Madison and Tyler miss you so much." There wasn't a single actual apology. There was no admission that what she had done was wrong. I texted her, "Please let me know when you are ready to truly apologize, not excuse or justify. Until then, I'll spend Christmas with those who want me there." On Christmas Day, I was in Emily's childhood bedroom in Colorado, video conferencing with her extended family members who couldn't travel. Her grandma complimented me on my eyes and inquired if I intended to marry her grandchild. I laughed and mentioned that I was working on it. We opened our presents in the morning, and this is what really got me. Emily's mother had given me actual, meaningful gifts. She noted my watch was scratched up and had gotten me a beautiful new one. A cookbook from a restaurant I'd mentioned I liked a few months ago. She remembered. She paid attention. She cared enough to put in the effort. I almost cried when I opened them. Emily noticed and asked if I was all right. I told her that I had never received Christmas gifts that had been thoughtfully chosen. Meanwhile, my phone was filling up with texts from Ohio and pictures from their Christmas morning. My vacant chair was evident in several images, as were notes from Madison stating that it's not the same without you. Tyler shared a selfie with a fake smile. My father just texted, "We miss you, son." I responded, "I miss having a family that treated me like I mattered." Guess we're both dealing with loss. Tyler texted me 3 days after Christmas. It was unexpected. "Hey, can we talk?" I almost ignored it, but something prompted me to react. "What's this about?" "I've been thinking a lot. About the Europe trip. About how things have always been. Wasn't I a pretty bad brother?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "Yes, you were. I know. I apologize." Then he did something none of my family members had ever done. He became specific. "I apologize for laughing when Mom said you didn't suit the vibe. I apologize for never standing up for you. I apologize for all the Christmas mornings when you got rubbish gifts and I said nothing. I apologize for piling on instead of having your back." What brought this about? I asked, genuinely curious. Honestly, I work in retail now. I deal with entitled people all day who treat me like I'm invisible. And I keep thinking about how you must have felt in your own family. And I was one of the people that made you feel that way. We exchanged texts for nearly an hour. He told me that being kicked out and having to work had changed his perspective. He finally understood what it was like to work hard and not be appreciated for it. I told him I appreciated the apologies, but words were easy. I had to see consistent action before I could trust him again. "Fair," he said. "I'll keep working on it." For weeks later, he drove to Austin. This was the first time a family member had paid me a visit in the 5 years I had lived there. We had lunch at a taco eatery I like. We walked around downtown and stopped by a guitar shop because he was interested in learning. We had actual conversations, like normal brothers would. It was strange, odd, and kind of pleasant. We discussed his job. It turns out retail is humbling if you've never worked before. He told me about a customer who yelled at him for 20 minutes over a phone case. And I just stood there taking it because I needed this job, he claimed. And I remembered all the times I saw Mom and Dad disregard you. And you just accepted it because what else were you going to do? Leave. You were a kid. It took me 29 years to actually leave, I said. "Better late than never," he replied. Before he left, he remarked, "Mom's losing it, by the way. She didn't get what she wanted for Christmas, and you're not coming home and pretending everything's fine. And she doesn't know how to handle it. It's no longer my concern." I know. I'm just saying. She's finally realizing her mistake. It's unclear whether she'll admit it. Early March brought the big one. My father showed up to my house. No warning. Someone just knocked on my door on a Saturday morning. I almost didn't let him in, but he looked fatigued, older than I remembered. So I made some coffee and we sat down. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said. "Look, I've been doing a lot of reading. About favoritism, about family dynamics, about how parents can hurt their kids without realizing it." He put down his coffee cup. "That Christmas with the tickets. I've played it 100 times in my head. The expression on your face when you realized there wasn't one for you, and I just sat there." "Yes, you did. I helped plan it. I knew we were leaving you out. I convinced myself it was all right because you probably couldn't get any time off anyway." He shook his head. "That is rubbish. I knew it was bad, but I did it anyway because it was simpler than confronting your mother." I didn't say anything. Let him keep going. "You deserved better. Your entire life, you deserved better. I saw you work twice as hard as your brother and sister and receive half the credit. I watched you pay rent while they lived for free. I watched as you were ignored and overlooked, and I said nothing. He stared me in the eyes, truly seeing me for what felt like the first time. I apologize. I'm not sorry you were hurt. I apologize for what I did and didn't do. All of it. We spoke for 3.5 hours. He mentioned specific things, birthdays, successes, times when he could have stood up for me, but didn't. He didn't make excuses. He simply owned it. At the end, I told him I appreciated his visit, that it meant something, and that I wasn't ready to forgive yet, but it was a start. He asked if he might hug me. I let him. First time in years. After he departed, I texted him, "Thanks for coming." That took guts. He responded, "Should have done it 22 years ago." Mom still hasn't apologized. Madison is still playing the victim. But I have my father truly trying and Tyler slowly coming around. And a woman whose family treats me better than mine ever did. It took a lot of pain and a trip halfway around the world, but I finally found a place where I fit the vibe. What about you? Have you ever had to draw a line with your family? Or found your chosen family somewhere else? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your experiences.